Hello, this video is continuing with discussion of David Hume's argument against belief in miracles. And there's a philosophy term you have got to know for this video, and that's empiricism. After Sextus Empiricus, who was an ancient Greek skeptic well before the time of Christ, he and others developed the view that all our knowledge is derived from experience, and you got to also know what they mean by experience. Well, at least as empiricism has developed, by experience they mean sense experience. By that they really mean if it is not by the five senses, it is an experience. You can't count it as a source of knowledge. And you could even quibble about how many physical senses do we have, such as if pain is considered a separate sense. Well, that is not crucial to the definition. But even in philosophy, this is rather more doubtful than it at first seems to be. I mean, you state the principle of empiricism to undergraduates taking first philosophy course or so, and they are likely to react, oh, that's so obvious. Less so than it might appear, however. What about my dream, for example? And I'm actually going to narrate at least the beginning of a dream I had a few days ago. I actually dreamed that somebody showed up at my house who I did not want to come to my house. Well, that was not literally, my dream was not literally anything that came to me through my physical senses. So, by strict empiricist standards, is it really experience? And yet, common sense would tend to indicate, yeah, that was experience of a sort. Well, now, let's go to Hume specifically, and I'll have more to say in response to Hume's section 10 of the Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding, the section about miracles, against Hume's argument against belief in miracles. And by the way, at one point in today's talk presentation, I'm going to refer to a page number. In a later video, I'll tell you what edition of the EHU Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding I refer to, so you may look up any passage I refer to by page number. Well, see, empiricism and Christianity are incompatible. One or the other is true, both cannot be true. Well, empiricism we already defined. Christianity is, of course, not just to believe in God, but to believe in God's redemptive special revelation, as we might refer to it. And, of course, part of that, Paul, in the writings of Paul, he wasn't trying to interact with any philosophy explicitly at this point, but consider, for example, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7, which I turn to. We live by faith, not by sight. More literally, translations put it, for we walk by faith, not by sight. So that is certainly part of the Christian view. I'll get in later to the fact that Christianity does involve historical special revelation, and thus people did actually experience things. It's not some sort of liberalism I'm talking about where there is just a philosophy which has no historical basis. Now, particularly in an era like the Age of Reason, 1688 or so, until the French Revolution, and since then also, particular Christians have tried to be both empiricist and Christians, without succeeding, I think. People such as Tillotson and Locke. Now, Hume, of course, was not even trying to be a Christian. At least from an early age, he was not. The more Christian they were, the less successful they were as empiricists, of course, as consistent empiricists. So don't be afraid of Hume's argument against miracles. Hume's argument against belief in miracles, in a sense, is begging the question, what they call by the term petitio principii. It is arguing against, for example, Christianity by starting from an assumption incompatible with Christianity. That's hardly fair to Christians, and of course, if Hume or anyone else really wants to debate with us, he has to, I think, be more willing, for the sake of argument, to assume, just for the sake of argument at least, that what we think is true. And I think the reasonable Christians would be willing to return the favor and assume, for the sake of argument, what they assume is true. And I have to say that, well, skipping to after my paragraph mark, Hume was a philosopher, and here he commits a logical fallacy, which no philosopher ought to do. No philosopher ought to do something like commit a logical fallacy in argument, but Hume did. And probably what motivated him to this type of really illogical, logically fallacious thinking was his religious prejudice. In other words, he had a deep prejudice against religion, and you can see this in a number of places, of course, in Hume's work. And here's an interesting one that doesn't even involve Christianity, actually. At page 142, Hume actually says, in the course of an argument he's doing, when we believe any miracle of Muhammad or his successors, and I won't even finish the quote, but Hume actually started out a sentence that way. Well, Muhammad is of course, the Prophet Muhammad, so-called, the founding prophet of Islam, great world religion. And Hume should have known better than to refer to any miracle of Muhammad or his successors as if there were a lot of miracle reports about Muhammad or his successors. In fact, there aren't. Muhammad is Mohammed, or Muhammad, was not in history known as a miracle-working prophet. He preached revelations that eventually became the Quran, and you can read this for yourself. He eventually converted Arabian tribes to follow this newly revealed religion of the Quran without doing any miracles. Hume, as an educated man, really ought to have known better, and he could have, with the sources available to him, in the 1700s known better than to say such a thing. So I think we can at least modestly say that Hume's evident religious prejudice, his prejudice against revealed religion of any sort in general, is clouding his ability to see what the facts are, whether about Islam or about Christianity or in any other case. Well, I'll have more to say next episode. Till next time.